On the next episode on WBS TV.
You have no plans of divorcing Mariella, and you work with Denora. What are you doing?
Now the only thing I need is for Innocenta to find out. I swear I am going to.
You're telling me that my own wife cheated on me? My own wife?
I'm the result of my mother's affair.
What?
A man and a woman who can't do anything apart from loving each other.
I love you, Nasha. I love you.
I think you're lovely. Come here.
Mariella, can you explain what's going on here?
On the next episode on WBS TV.
We take news very seriously. With hundreds of camera crews and journalists across the region.
A group of drivers are still flocking this place here.
On the streets.
Tried to snatch his number plate that had been removed.
Beyond the horizon.
National water and sewage pipes and the entire system collapsing.
News. Happening now, then it is on WBS TV News.
You are watching WBS TV.
Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon edition. It's 3 days into the second month of the year 2015. I'm Mildred Tohaise. Now, the Office of the President in charge of land matters has finally ordered 500 residents to vacate the land that has been under investigations for a year now by the Office of the President. The 700-acre piece of land in Bunjako Island in Mpigi district that belongs to Prince Mawanda and Buganda Kingdom had been encroached on by over 500 people who had for several years claimed legal occupancy.
The Land Commission, led by Miriam Namayanja and the Presidential Advisor on Political Affairs, Sunday Ocheng, had pitched camp in the island for the second day to resolve this land conflict involving Buganda Kingdom Prince David Mawanda and some residents on Bunjako Island. The exercise, which later culminated into an eviction order, started with registration of all the residents purported to be living on this land claimed by Prince Mawanda. The embattled encroachers, who had been in serious conflicts with Prince David Mawanda, ended up losing the land upon failing to present letters of legal occupancy asked by the team of Land Commission from the Office of the President. During the registration process that took almost a day, ended up with 46 residents out of 700 people that had been claiming to be genuine landowners. Most of these troubled residents who managed to turn up for the registration exercise didn't want to be registered, though they expected mercy from the State House officials. The officials ruled that those that no longer claim for ownership of Bibanja were encroachers who should be arrested and charged of encroachment.
We have come here 3 times repeating the same thing. That means they are not there or they don't have any interest in the Kiwanja.
We've advised the police to stop any encroachment, any further encroachment, because they're already encroachment, any further sale on the land until when this issue is sorted out.
However, the evicted residents were not certain of the registration process, claiming that it had other hidden intentions.
Now, the number of new HIV/AIDS infections has been increasing each year from 124,000 in 2009 to approximately 145,000 in 2011. Majority of these people are living positively due to massive global health interventions of scaling up into retroviral therapy. A book entitled Second Chances, Surviving AIDS in Uganda has been launched and gives the gravity of the HIV/AIDS around the concerns of its patients living with the virus. Our reporter Harrison Tembo has the details.
This book gives an inside story of HIV/AIDS situation in Uganda. It was published by Duke University Press and examines how ART has saved millions of Ugandans and has created a generation of people who have learned to live with the treatment. During the first decade of this millennium, thousands of Ugandans would have died from HIV/AIDS, but got second chances at life. This book, titled Second Chance, explains massive global intervention of scaling up antiretroviral therapy. The authors of this book intimate that antiretroviral therapy has saved thousands of Ugandans who have now accepted to live positively using these drugs.
The book talks about the entire life of people, what they go through as they live with HIV, but also as they get medicines for HIV or ARVs. So the book discusses how people get connected to access the drugs or to treatment programs which give drugs. The book talks about the families of those people who are on HIV and AIDS drugs. It also talks about other aspects like their partners.
The book spells out the consequences of the treatment and its impact on society, families, and individuals.
When we look at HIV and AIDS, it's not an individual event. It's not an individual, neighbors, includes friends, and sometimes you find that people's family now are more social than biological. And so there is a content in here that I think is very, very useful in understanding or appreciating this particular book.
From the angle of the people who have been affected, we are more likely to understand it and will impact on how we handle the next epidemic.
Apparently, the number of HIV/AIDS infections has been increasing each year from 124,000 in 2009 to approximately 145,000 in 2011. Harris Tembo, WBS.
The Internal Affairs Ministry says it has registered success in the issuance of the national identity cards, which commenced on the 3rd of December last year. According to the ministry, samples surveyed in the central region indicates that so far 800,000 people have picked the identity cards out of the 10 million people that registered in the capital, Kampala, and the neighboring districts.
On the 3rd of December 2014, the issuance of the national ID card to Ugandan citizens commenced by enrolling Ugandan citizens at the parish level, and over 14.8 million, representing 82% of the targeted 18 million citizens, had been registered. This was followed with a continuous registration exercise, which was based at the sub-county, and over 776,000 applicants have been registered, with the total number of citizens registered coming to 15.6 million, representing 18.5% of the targeted population. This now leaves an estimated outstanding eligible population of 2.5 million people, representing 13.5%. This, to the spokesperson of the National ID Project, marks a successful exercise.
1 million people so far, and as of now, we have been able to print over 800,000 cards for people who registered in Kampala, and out of those, about 150,000 people have picked their cards. So the allegation is baseless because we have a balance of over 300 cards to be printed.
Subuga says that according to the survey conducted in the central region, over 40% of the country's citizens have managed to pick their cards from different distributing centers at parish level. So far, out of the 4 million cards printed out in the capital Kampala, 800,000 Ugandans have managed to pick their cards and others are turning up in big numbers to beat the deadline.
Please go to your parishes where you registered. Do not go to where the centers where you had your pictures taken, because during the picture taking or during the enrollment, we moved down to villages and NSC1 offices. But for card issuance, we are doing it in your areas of parish offices.
However, he cited out a few technicalities where some have not been in position to receive their cards on time, saying there is a technical problem which need to be sorted out by their computer system.
You're still watching the afternoon edition. We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll be talking international news.
Take news very seriously. With hundreds of camera crews and journalists across the region.
A group of drivers are still flocking this place here.
On the streets.
Tried to snatch his number plate that had been removed.
Beyond the horizon.
National water and sewage pipes and the entire system collapsing.
News is action at WBS TV.
This eviction has been very peaceful.
More resources to cover breaking news first.
Since this is where the crime was committed.
If it is happening now, then it is on WBS TV News.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. It's still WBS Afternoon Edition. On the international scene, despite strong presence of troops, Nigerian fighters continue to strike targets in northern Cameroon. The UN chief Ban Ki-moon has also blocked an African Union proposal to send a regional force to fight Boko Haram in Nigeria, as war plans from Chad carry out airstrikes against the armed group.
Says it's retaken 5 towns held by the armed group following what it's calling a joint offensive by its military and civilian vigilantes. Nigerian troops also repelled an attack by Boko Haram on the northeastern town of Maiduguri. Boko Haram has recently launched cross-border attacks from Nigeria into Cameroon and Chad. The countries share a long, porous land border. Boko Haram fighters are thought to control at least half of Borno State in the northeast of Nigeria. And there is a growing refugee crisis for Nigeria's neighbors. The UN says more than 14,000 people have crossed Lake Chad since early January from the northeast Nigerian town of Baga. And there have been more attacks in northeast Nigeria ahead of the February 14th elections there. On Monday, 1 person was killed and 18 injured in a car bomb attack on a campaign rally being held by Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan.
And still on the international scene, the head of a UN inquiry into last summer's conflict between Israel and Gaza has said he will resign after Israeli allegations of bias due to consultancy work he did for the Palestinian Liberation Organization. In a letter to the Commission, the Canadian academician William Shaba said he would step down immediately to prevent the issue from overshadowing the presentation and preparation of the report and its findings, which are due to be published in March.
Professor Shabas was always a controversial choice
for this job. When he was first appointed, the Israeli government complained, citing comments he'd made saying that he felt that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should find himself in The Hague on war crimes charges. He's been chairing the work of this commission, which in recent weeks has been in Amman, Jordan, listening to testimony from those who are in Gaza. The commission wasn't able to travel to the Gaza Strip because it was denied permission by the Israeli government. We're told that Israeli diplomats recently complained to the UN in Geneva about work that the professor did in 2012. He was paid $1,300 by the Palestinian Liberation Authority for a legal opinion. Following discussions at the UN, Professor Shahbaz has now issued this letter of resignation, saying that he's done nothing wrong, but he doesn't want any of these allegations to overshadow the work of the Commission. It's worth pointing out that one Commission member has already resigned before the Commission even started its work. There was the resignation of the prominent human rights lawyer Amal Clooney, better known because she has a famous husband who is a Hollywood actor.
The United States is also considering whether to provide weapons to Ukraine in its fight against Russian-backed separatists, a senior U.S. administration official has confirmed. Now, the U.S. administration official said that no wants to get into a proxy war with Russia, but U.S. objective is to change the behavior of Russia. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry will travel to Kiev on Thursday to have talks with Ukraine's government the same day that NATO defense ministers meet in Brussels.
Contrary to published reports on Monday that the Obama administration is now considering giving lethal aid to the Ukrainian army, the U.S. State Department spokesperson is suggesting that basically the administration is looking at all options, but that nothing has been either placed on the table or taken off the table. Jen Psaki also went on to say that the U.S. is still very interested in trying to achieve a political and diplomatic resolution to the crisis in eastern Ukraine, where in recent days separatist fighters and what are believed to be Russian soldiers have carried out more attacks on citizens in that part of the country. The Ukrainian government is certainly looking forward to the upcoming visit of Secretary of State John Kerry because they are hoping that they might be able to persuade him and other members of the administration that the time is now for the U.S. and for EU nations to provide lethal assistance. It's complicated because NATO does not include Ukraine as a member, and there is, of course, some concern about further offending the sensibilities, as it were, of Moscow when they believe that there is a way out of the crisis without having to increase the amount of warfare on the ground.
And that's all we had time for on the afternoon edition. Sports will be coming your way on NCKM Izanya with Web Daniel Sevakije. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mildred Tohaise. Good afternoon.